Hello guys, this is Tlaloc Venancio, and I did my research paper on school funding, the main question that I explored was, where does the money come from? I started off by exploring the legal disputes and the court cases that led into our current system. Prior to 1960, most schools were funded through the property taxes of your local neighborhood. However, the way the boundaries were drawn left a lot of inequity, and some schools did not even have the necessary um, tools to educate children. So, I explore a little bit why was it important, and I think a question you can answer yourself is if it was fair. Obviously, I think in 1960, with the progressive education, a lot of people were really questioning, if everybody had the same amount of money for schools. So show me the money. So money is not everything, but it helps, right? Money does not buy happiness, but with school funding and public education, money is critical to hiring, good staff and getting the necessary tools for our students to learn. So in the paper, I tell you, where does the money come from, who determines how it is distributed, and who controls where it goes. It's a very complex formulas, and every state really has its own way of handling the money. The federal government, their involvement with funding, I explore on how it started. But one of the key findings that I found was that the federal government, through some court cases, determined that the U.S. Constitution does not have the federal government deal with education at all. So their involvement, I call it more of a charity from the federal government to our public education. They do fund about 10% of each, roughly around 10% of each school district in the nation. So it's not that large. However, a lot of schools do make an effort to fulfill requirements from the federal government. And our current president is actually reviewing the federal government's involvement with money and public education. So is money the solution? I explore on the idea of how California, the way they deal with money and public education. Uh, there has been a lot of controversy of accountability at the local level, especially once we start talking about parent booster programs and foundations. And then I bring it back closer to home, and I take a closer look at City Heights, where a lot of money has been poured into our neighborhood, and not a lot of results have come out of it. So some questions to ponder after you read this research paper is, how should schools use the money? What should the outcomes? What should be the outcomes that we should look into? After we pour a lot of money into our public schools. I know the current trend is to have, graduation rate be really high. There still has not been a lot of translation with public school funding and minorities and getting them into college. So what should really be the outcomes for all this money being poured into public education? And then President Trump is actually, like I said earlier, reviewing uh, the involvement with money in our public schools. So I wonder what's going to happen, throughout his presidency, and is that going to stop us? Is that going to help us? What is, what's the future with money and public education? I hope you enjoyed the research paper I did, and I extend an invitation to anyone that wants to know more about the way that we fundraise for our local running club here in City Heights called City Heights Runners. So if you want to know more about fundraising, you can come and have dinner with me and my family. Thank you.